12 Spine-Chilling Craigslist Horrors, Unexplained and Sinister Secrets from the Dark Web Exposed. The rain pounded against Sarah's modest two-story home as she cleaned up the aftermath of yet another chaotic day. Dishes piled high in the sink and toy cars scattered across the living room floor were symbols of the hidden struggle she faced. Each knock of raindrops matched the frantic beats of her heart, waves of anxiety washing over her as she rifled through Craigslist for odd jobs. Struggling is easier when you aren't alone, she whispered to herself, but the weariness weighed her down. Scrolling through endless listings, a peculiar babysitting job caught her eye. Babysitting needed. Know the best places for fun, 200 for a night. The detailed description read like a horror script, mentioning Mia and Jake by name, even weaving in descriptions of their schedules. She shivered, the air in the room turning ice cold. No way this could be a coincidence, right? In her gut, she felt a knot tightening. Glancing out the window, Sarah's gaze fell on Mr. Thompson across the street. He stood there, a predictable smile plastered on his face, but his eyes were glued to her, a heartbeat too long. Dread laced her thoughts, creeping closer to her collapsing hopeful facade. Days turned into nights full of ill-fated knocks echoing through her home. Each time she swung open the door, her heart raced. Not a soul was ever there. Just the looming emptiness, like some twisted game. The whispers from online forums about missing children clawed at her stability. Rumors of Craigslist posts behind these disappearances connected like dots leading back to her neighborhood. Panic clawed at her throat, threatening to choke her as she replayed those eerie knocks again and again. "Stay calm, Sarah," she murmured to herself as shadows lengthened and darkness pooled in the corners of her home. But the shreds of comfort lay hidden beneath a growing mountain of dread. She'd check on Mia and Jake, their innocent laughter piercing through the thick silence. But each giggle only reminded her how fragile their safety felt now. She found herself pacing the living room, heart racing, trying to douse flames of paranoia. Resolute, she knew she had to confront Mr. Thompson. Fear and defiance collided inside her. This charming facade was cracking, and she needed to dig deeper into those unspoken truths. "I know what you've been doing," she shouted, her voice breaking as she faced him on the porch, tremors underlined with desperation. His smile faded, morphing into something darker, revealing that he was more than just a friendly neighbor. He was hiding a web of secrets, feeding on the very fears that shackled her. The world around her blurred into chaos, the confrontation unfolded like a poorly directed thriller. Hearts raced, panic surged, and suddenly, Sarah was fighting not just for her life but for the lives of her children. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The struggle reached a fever pitch, adrenaline pulsing through her veins. In the rush, Sarah stumbled upon something sinister, an organization like a spider's web, entangling its victims through hidden Craigslist ads. Her heart dropped at the realization. Families she recognized from neighborhood gatherings had fallen prey to this wicked network, consuming innocence in a steady rhythm of despair. Would she be strong enough to expose the darkness cloaked in everyday normalcy, or would her revelation plunge her further into the shadows? Fists clenched, a hollow pit of dread settled deeper in her stomach. Her small town was now a landscape with lurking monsters disguised as friends. As the dust settled momentarily, questions raced through her mind. Who could she trust, and how much longer could she protect her children from the sinister secrets that lay in wait? Her heart was still racing as she took a cautious step backward, trying to gauge the menace behind Mr. Thompson's now darkened demeanor. The porch light flickered, casting long, eerie shadows across their faces, creating a twisted theater of threat and confusion. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, her voice strained but resolute, struggling against the suffocating grip of fear. "Just a little family fun," he replied, voice dripping with malice. The words hung between them, heavy and suffocating. He took a step forward, and she instinctively recoiled, her pulse pounding wildly in her ears. Suddenly, a sound shattered the thick air. Jake's giggles erupted from inside, shrill and innocent like a sharp knife cutting through the dread that surrounded her. It was the last thing she wanted to hear. It tore at her resolve, urging her to protect him, to pull him away from the taint of Mr. Thompson's darkness. "Don't bring them into this," she whispered, desperation tightening her throat. Each word felt like a plea and a warning. All at once, with a tight smile, Mr. Thompson leaned closer, his eyes widening with twisted enthusiasm. "But they have to have some fun too, right? They'll love the surprise I have planned." The deep chill of nausea flooded through her, every nerve screamed at her to run. Something loomed behind the warmth of his practiced charm. A flicker of a hidden agenda danced in his eyes, igniting primal fears within her. She had to act quickly. Sarah glanced inside, her mind racing through scenarios. If she could get the kids, slice through the tension, maybe they could escape before whatever wicked game Mr. Thompson had in store unfolded. "I need to go get the kids," she said calmly, adopting a guise of nonchalance, plastering a fake smile to shield her trembling frame. "Let me just grab their things." "No." He interrupted, venom pooling in his voice. "They can come with me." "No need for that." He stepped aside, gesturing casually toward the fog of night wrapping around them. "The fun is waiting for them. Right outside." Panic gripped her. Everything screamed that this wasn't a playful invitation. This was a trap. "You're insane!" she shouted, feeling the tears welling up, blurring her vision. But she had to protect Jake and Mia, they were all that mattered now. Just then, the door creaked behind her. Mia stood there, her little face pale, eyes wide with confusion. "Mommy?" The world spun as Sarah's heart sank. "Mia, go to your room," she shouted, her voice cracking, a wild instinct for protection. "Now." But before she could intercept, Mr. Thompson moved like lightning, grabbing Mia by the arm. "Let me show her the fun," he hissed, cruel delight brewing in his voice. "Get away from her." Sarah shrieked, adrenaline crashing over her like an uncontrolled wave. She lunged forward, terror replacing reason. Mr. Thompson's grip on Mia tightened, and Sarah's scream pierced through the chaos of the night like a beacon of desperation. In that instant, every soul in their quiet neighborhood was asleep, oblivious to the horrors unfolding on that porch. Seconds stretched painfully as Sarah fought against the growing dread clocking her limbs, desperate to wrench Mia free. Would she break the chains of fear wrapping around this sinister neighbor, or was it too late? Suddenly, a dark figure shifted in the shadows behind Mr. Thompson, something larger, darker, looming ominously. "Sarah." The voice was all too familiar, sent chills splintering through her bones. The face of her husband appeared, but twisted in an unnatural grin, a sinister weave spinning around him, pulling him toward the darkness. "Help me, Sarah," he croaked, eyes wide yet devoid of recognition. And just like that, a new terror unfurled, looming overhead like a storm cloud. Was he part of this monstrous game too? Sarah's breath quickened. What unseen web lay behind this horrifying night? Was her husband trapped in a nightmare that folded into a much larger, darker conspiracy? As she made a lunge forward, ready to confront the unreality before her, she found herself caught between love, madness, and a darkness she couldn't comprehend. And then, the world dipped into silence, the kind that hinted at something terrifying waiting in the hush, a promise of a chilling truth waiting to emerge. What lay concealed just beyond the reach of flickering porch lights? In her heart, she feared the answer might steal away the last flicker of her hope. Sarah, the name was barely a whisper, but the tension in the air buzzed with electricity. Her husband stood there, face pale and eyes glassy, lost in a disorienting fog. Sarah's instincts screamed danger as Mr. Thompson's hold on Mia tightened, a vice of malicious intent suffocating any chance of escape. Mia looked up at Sarah, confusion mingling with fear in her wide eyes. "Mommy, I don't want to play shoo, baby." "It's okay." Sarah's voice quivered, tears threatening to spill. She couldn't let her little girl see her fear. Just go back inside. You're too late, Sarah, Mr. Thompson sneered, edging closer, calculating. The shadows danced menacingly around him, as if they too were complicit in his sinister game. This game is already in play. And the more you fight, the more fun it becomes. Fun? Sarah echoed, incredulous. She felt a cold wave of dread smothering her. This wasn't fun, this was a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. Let her go. She spat, her heart thumping, each beat cloaked in a desperate plea. You have no right. Oh, but I do. He chuckled, a low, guttural sound that dripped with carnage. You see, I've planned this for a long time. Your husband knows how the game works. He's just part of the show now. As he spoke, her husband's face sharpened into focus. He blinked slowly, as if waking from a deep sleep. Sarah, he mumbled again, dulled by an unseen force that seemed to have hijacked his very will. Marcus. Sarah's voice cracked, each syllable breaking her heart. She took a step closer, feeling the pull of sinking dread. You have to fight it. Please. Don't let him control you. But the light in Marcus' eyes flickered. Shadows twisted around him, thick and cold. He reached for her. Help me help us, Mommy. Mia squealed, yanking at Mr. Thompson's grip. Let me go. Enough. Mr. Thompson roared, his patience wearing thin. With a sudden jerk, he spun Mia around, trapping her against his side. She clutched at her small arms, panic racing through her. The air thickened, an invisible weight pressing down on Sarah's chest. No. Her heartbeat echoed deafeningly. She surged forward, adrenaline pumping through every nerve. You're not taking her. But the moment she reached out, Mr. Thompson released a low, vicious laugh. You think you can just walk away with them? Look behind you. Every muscle in Sarah's body froze as she turned. The porch light flickered and died, plunging them into pitch blackness. A chill settled in the air. The shadows swallowed them whole, a suffocating darkness that clawed at her sanity. In that eerie silence, frantic whispers emerged. The wind carried them, twisting into audible horror. Had they come from inside the house? Or from deeper in the night? It was impossible to tell. Mommy. Mia's voice cut through the darkness, frantic and terrified. Hold on. Sarah shouted, but fear clawed at her throat. I'm coming. Save her. Marcus' voice faded as if someone pulled him into the night, siphoning the last traces of his essence. A surge of chilled air shot past Sarah, sending prickles racing down her spine. She felt it, something horrible crouched in the darkness, lurking just behind her. The shadows whispered secrets of dread, resonating with her deepest fears that she'd lose everything, that she was already too late. Mia. Get away from him. But the darkness tangled around them like an unbreakable tether, twisting and distorting reality itself. And just when she thought all hope was lost, a pair of shining eyes appeared in the void, glowing faintly with a promise of salvation or doom. What waited in the darkness? And would she have the strength to reclaim her family before it was too late? Sarah's breath came in ragged gasps as she stood frozen in the encroaching darkness. The glowing eyes pierced through the shadows, illuminating just enough to reveal the twisted shape of Mr. Thompson and the terrified form of Mia intertwined in his grasp. What are you? She dared to breathe, her voice shaking. With a low hum, the eyes flickered, darting through the dark, revealing their owner, an animal, maybe a dog, with a coat matted and dark, heavily shadowed by the void around it. But there was something wrong with its gaze. Mia. She screamed again, desperation blooming within her chest like a wildfire. The dog shifted, its growl rumbling in its throat, a warning. Thompson sneered, as if he could taste her fear. Pretty, aren't they? But don't let their allure fool you, Sarah. They can smell your fear, and they thrive on it, he taunted with a crooked smile, his grip tightening around Mia's small body. Mia whimpered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Mommy, I'm scared." "Don't look at him. Just look at me," Sarah pleaded, stepping forward into the oppressive blackness, her heart racing with reckless courage. The shadows twisted around her, pulling at her clothes, tugging at her ankles like icy fingers demanding she stop. But she pushed through. "You're stronger than this, Marcus." As if awakening from a trance, Marcus blinked, his gaze clearing momentarily. "Sarah, help," he gasped, his voice barely above a whisper, frail and fragmented. But then the darkness reasserted its control, the shallow spark of him fading like embers in a dying fire as Mr. Thompson grinned, relishing the despair enveloping the scene. "Let us see if you can summon the strength to save her," he jeered. "I hope you're not squeamish." With a flick of his wrist, he gestured at the shadows, which twisted and writhed at his command. Unseen figures formed from the darkness, lurking just beyond the fringes of what Sarah could see, menacing silhouettes creeping towards her, their whispers rising like a tempest, their intentions dark. "Get away from her!" Sarah screamed, rooted by fear yet unwilling to relent. She could feel the cold settling in, wrapping around her like a shroud. The growling intensified. The dog snapped at the air, drawing its teeth, warning off the dark shapes. Sarah felt a semblance of hope flickering but knew it wouldn't last. The shadows wouldn't allow it. "It doesn't matter how hard you try." Mr. Thompson's laughter echoed, bouncing off the darkness. "Do you think light can penetrate this depth? This will be your child's final game." Mia's small voice broke through the chaos. "Mommy. I don't want to play." "Then we'll find a way out." She lunged forward, the shadows clutching at her ankles, trying to drag her back into the depths. She felt her heart pounding, each beat like a battle drum driving her on. Suddenly, a noise pierced the void. A childlike giggle echoed, splitting the eerie silence, sharp and joyful, chilling in its context. "You can't hold us back, Mommy. We're all just players now." The darkness quivered, however, as if questioning the giggle, confused by its intrusion. Sarah's heart raced with dread and curiosity. What game was Mia playing? Could they really turn the tables? As if answering her thoughts, the glowing eyes of the dog brightened, seeming to rally the darkness against Thompson. Sarah took a breath, her resolve hardening. "Get away from my family!" she shouted, the words coming out raw and feral. She advanced, pushing through the shadows clinging to her. Each step was filled with a dread that threatened to overwhelm, but she had no choice. To save her child, she had to confront the horror that had taken hold, and then she felt it, a pulse of energy, emanating from the very darkness itself, as if the void was a living entity willing to fight alongside her. But was this strength born from desperation, or was it a trap laid by the lurking darkness? With every ounce of her being, Sarah surged forward, heart racing, ready to unleash her last desperate act of defiance. What sinister truth would she uncover as she stepped deeper into the abyss? Would they break free, or was it an invitation into a darker realm? In a heartbeat, the shadows recoiled as Sarah pressed forward, a force of nature fueled by primal desperation. The whispers morphed into a chorus of screams, echoing in the void, but she drowned them out. Mia needed her. "Let her go!" Sarah yelled, her voice a piercing arrow aimed at the heart of darkness. The growling dog bolstered its stance, a guardian shimmering in the curls of black, its teeth bared, ready to spring. Mr. Thompson's laughter twisted through the air, a cruel symphony. "You think you can challenge me? This darkness is mine. You'll never win." The shadows danced, swaying as they shifted toward her, an ocean of despair ready to swallow her whole. But with each step, Sarah felt a warmth radiating from deep within the void. It was faint, but real. In that moment, its pulse resonated with her own heartbeat, like a drum keeping time with her unwavering resolve. "Mia," she whispered, frantic and pleading. "Focus on my voice. I'm coming." And as she spoke, the shadows seemed to stall, as if caught in an unseen net. Mia's voice quivered in reply, "Mommy, I can feel you. But it hurts, he's hurting me. The anguish in Mia's tone sent a shiver down Sarah's spine, but it also ignited a furious spark of courage. Hold on, baby. I'm almost there. Sarah screamed again, channeling every ounce of her energy through the shadows. Thompson sneered, and in that instant, released Mia, tossing her like a rag doll into the void. No. Sarah lunged forward, hands outstretched, desperate. In that moment of weightlessness, when time stopped and the world seemed to hold its breath, she felt everything around her lurch violently. The shadows surged, reclaiming their territory, closing in on her like a predator tightening its grip on prey. But the dog surged ahead, diving into the abyss, catching Mia just before she hit the cold ground. As they collided, a flash of light erupted from the creature, illuminating the depths that shrouded them in despair. Run! The dog barked, its voice raw and powerful, cutting through the chaos. Sarah seized the moment, racing toward them. The shadows snarled, boiling in frustration as they were pushed back by the flickering light. Get out! Now! With the power of an unseen force behind them, the dog darted toward Sarah and Mia. Sarah grabbed Mia tightly, feeling her small frame trembling, but alive. Together they sprinted into the light, the darkness clawing at them, desperate to reclaim its lost prey. Thompson lurched forward, anger twisting his face. You'll pay for this. You can't escape. I will find you. As they plunged through the veil of shadows, the chaos turned to silence. They tumbled forward into an empty, dimly lit room, breathless and disoriented. The gnawing darkness hung just beyond the doorway, insistent and sinister. What just happened? Sarah gasped, backing away. Mia clung to her side, wide-eyed and trembling. I don't know, Mommy, but I think it's still out there. And as the shadows lingered, creeping instead of retreating, Sarah could feel them stirring, hungry for revenge, angry that they'd lost their catch. The quiet of the room felt unnatural, pregnant with unseen threats. Her heart thundered in her chest as she backed deeper into the cold surface of the wall. But in the other corner, a whisper slithered toward her, cold and chilling. You can't hide forever, Sarah. The game isn't over yet. What dark twist awaited them now, waiting to ensnare them once more? The shadows trembled as Sarah pressed against the wall, her breath hitching in her throat. Goosebumps prickled on her skin, the air in the dim room thick with dread. She could feel the weight of unseen eyes, lurking just out of reach, waiting for the moment to strike. Mommy, what does he mean? Mia's tiny voice trembled, pulling Sarah from her thoughts. The innocence in her daughter's question was a sharp reminder that they were still in grave danger. I don't know, sweetie, Sarah replied, forcing a semblance of calm into her voice. But we need to be quiet. We have to think of a way out. The walls seemed to close in around them, the shadows whispering secrets of terrors yet to come. And then, without warning, a sudden flicker erupted from the corner, drawing Sarah's gaze. It was just a glimpse of light, too quickly extinguished, yet it set off a bolt of recognition in her mind. Over there. She pointed toward the fading glimmer, hope igniting within her. It could be a way out. But as she turned, the laughter eerily familiar and echoing slithered back into her ears. You think you can escape me? Thompson's voice sang, chilling her bones. You're just delaying the inevitable. You're part of the game now and I always win. No. Sarah shouted, fury boiling inside her. It fueled her resolve. They couldn't stay, couldn't let him corner them. Mia tugged on her arm, panic pooling in her wide eyes. Mommy, what are we going to do? We run. Sarah announced, determination hardening with every pulse of her heart. Taking Mia's hand, they dashed toward the fading light that beckoned them like a lighthouse in a storm. The moment they bolted toward it, dark tendrils lashed at their heels, whispering promises of despair. Sarah's heart raced as they neared their only hope, if it even was a way out. Keep going. She cried, urging Mia faster. The light danced back and forth, a beacon amidst the churning darkness. But the whispers grew into a wailing banshee, driving nails of ice into Sarah's spine. You'll never escape. You'll become one with the void. Mia stumbled, and Sarah whipped around just in time to catch her child, their eyes locking. Fear gripped her as she quickly scanned the room. The shadows were keenly aware of their flight, a swarm ready to devour. "Mommy, I'm scared." Mia whimpered, her voice a thin thread of hope in the clutches of despair. "I know, baby. But I won't let him take you. Never." With a surge of urgency, Sarah hoisted Mia into her arms. She turned back toward the light, determination ignited as intense as a wildfire. They reached the light's edge, a harsh glow illuminating the room, revealing strange, grotesque shapes shifting within the shadows. It felt almost alive, writhing and twisting like a cage made of nightmares. "Are you ready?" Sarah's voice was a hoarse whisper, filled with both fear and determination. Mia nodded, her small frame shaking but set in an unwavering trust. With one synchronized breath, they plunged into the blinding light, the shadows screaming behind them in furious rage. The world around them spun, bending and twisting, until they crumpled in a heap on cold tiles. Groans echoed as Sarah blinked against the harshness surrounding them. It was familiar, she gasped as she realized they were back in their home, the kitchen illuminated by the golden afternoon sun. But the shadows clawed at the edges of her consciousness, still lurking in the corners, waiting. Mia tried to scrabble to her feet, but the turmoil still echoed in her wide eyes. "Mommy, it didn't work, it's still here. I can feel it." Sarah's breath hitched again, a cold dread replacing the relief she desperately wanted to grasp. "They will come for us. They'll never stop," the whisper echoed back, slithering through the warm sunlight, tainting its purity. As the ominous realization settled like a heavy blanket, the front door creaked open slowly. "Did you think you could escape?" Thompson's silhouette loomed in the doorway, a wicked grin reflected in his eyes. And just like that, hope cracked and shattered like fragile glass, leaving only terror in its wake. What more horrors lay ahead, ready to unfold? Sarah's heart raced as the silhouette of Thompson etched itself deeper into her memories. Cold sweat trickled down her back, pooling at the small of her spine. She tightened her grip around Mia, her fingers trembling. This wasn't a game anymore, it was life or death. "Mommy." Mia's voice cracked, trembling with fear. Her small frame pressed tightly against Sarah, seeking safety against a tide of darkness. "Shoo," Sarah whispered fiercely, her mind racing. She had to think. The kitchen was familiar, filled with the comforting aroma of baked goods, but it felt wrong now. The shadows whispered through the open door like serpents, slithering toward them. "Did you miss me?" Thompson's voice oozed with malice as he stepped into the kitchen, shadows trailing behind him like a cloak. "You didn't think I'd let you escape so easily, did you?" A cold knot of dread twisted in Sarah's stomach. They had to get away from him. "We need to find a way out of here," she murmured, glancing at the back door. It felt like a faint glimmer of hope, barely seen through the swirl of impending doom. Before she could bolt, the light overhead flickered ominously. Thompson's laughter echoed through the room, bouncing off the walls. "Don't you see? You're trapped in my game." With a sudden burst of anger, Sarah shouted, "You won't win. I'll protect my daughter." His grin widened, but behind it lay a flicker of something darker. "That's what they all say. But the end is always the same." As she turned toward the back door, the shadows coiled tighter, thickening around her legs. Panic surged. "Run, Mia. Now." Mia let out a small, terrified whimper but sprinted. Together, they stumbled through the kitchen, the sunlight flickering like a dying ember against the encroaching gloom. With every frantic step, the air thickened, pushing them down. The laughter morphed into a haunting tune, wrapping around Sarah like a noose. "Don't you want to play? Just for a little while?" They reached the door, but as Sarah grabbed the handle, the ground beneath them trembled. The whispers grew louder, weaving together into an eerie symphony of despair. "You can't escape the shadows." The handle was cold beneath her palm. She yanked it down, but the door wouldn't budge. "Open. Please." She wrestled with it, desperate. Mia's voice pierced the weight of fear. "Mommy, he's right behind us." Sarah's heart sank. She turned just in time to see Thompson emerge from the shadows, his face twisted in mock delight. "You'll have to play with me a little longer." The kitchen began to warp, the walls closing in like a nightmarish trap. The sunlight flickered violently, and the air grew thick with the smell of charred wood and smoke. "Mommy!" Mia screamed. "Keep pushing," Sarah urged, pushing back against the door with all her might. Just as the shadows began to swallow her whole, the door cracked open, a sliver of light bursting forth. They stumbled outside, but the world wasn't as they remembered. The neatly trimmed lawn was wild and overgrown, twisted trees clawing at the sky with gnarled branches. The sunlight felt wrong, tainted. "What happened?" Mia cried, gripping Sarah's hand tightly. "I don't know, sweetie. But we can't let him find us. We have to keep moving." But in the distance, the laughter morphed into something sinister, echoing through the overgrown yard. Sarah's heart sank as she realized they weren't safe yet. He was still out there, lurking, waiting for the right moment to strike. Just then, a shudder raced through the ground beneath them, the earth pulsating like a living thing. Shadows danced around their feet, whispering promises of despair. "Mommy, look!" Mia pointed. At the far edge of their home, a dark shape loomed, larger than life, twisting and writhing. The air grew colder, thicker. Sarah's breath hitched again as dread washed over her. What is that?" As the shape edged closer, it filled with an unseen energy, pulling the shadows in like a hungry beast. With a surge of panic, Sarah grabbed Mia, their eyes wide with fear. "Let us run," she urged, with an urgent intensity. But as fear and chaos escalated, the shadows threatened to devour them both. Would they find salvation, or was this just the beginning of their new nightmare? They sprinted across the yard, the wild grass whipping against their ankles. Each step felt heavier, as if the ground itself resisted their escape. The shadows behind them seemed to stretch and elongate, reaching hungrily like tendrils, eager to ensnare them once more. "Mommy!" Mia's voice trembled again, pure fear radiating from her small frame. "What if he gets us?" "Keep moving," Sarah shouted, forcing a sense of urgency into her words. She didn't have the luxury of thinking. If she faltered, if she hesitated, Thompson would win, and she couldn't let that happen. Ahead of them, a dilapidated shed loomed, dark and foreboding. Its door hung ajar, creaking softly in the chilling breeze that seemed to whisper dark secrets. The shadows coiling around it appeared thicker, darker. A sense of malevolence dripped from the slats of wood. "Should we hide in there?" Mia quivered, eyes wide and terrified. "It's better than being out in the open," Sarah said, forcing the words out. They had no time to waste debating their options. She pulled Mia toward the shed, hoping it could maybe offer them a brief refuge. As they stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The smell of mildew hit them like a wall, an oppressive sighing sound echoing between the cracked walls. Dust motes danced in the fleeting shafts of light filtering through filthy windows. "Stay close," Sarah instructed. She barely let go of Mia's hand, keeping her daughter within reach. But even as they huddled in the shadows, Sarah felt watched. A prickle of unease crawled up her spine. She scanned the corners of the shed, trying to shake the feeling. Old gardening tools draped in cobwebs lined the walls, rusty and worn. Then a thunderous bang erupted from outside. It shook the walls of the shed, making the dust rain down like tiny, despairing snowflakes. "Mommy, what was that?" Mia squeaked, clutching tighter. "Just stay quiet." Sarah's voice trailed off as she crept to the door, her heart pounding as she opened it slightly, peering out. The yard was eerily quiet now. In place of the sinister laughter, there was only stillness, an unsettling peace. Dread rolled through her like waves. What happened to Thompson? Where was he? Mommy! Mia gasped, her pointing finger trembling. Sarah turned her gaze back to the yard. There he stood, in the distance, illuminated by the weak sunlight, silhouetted against the decaying backdrop. Thompson stared with unnerving intensity, twisted in a grotesque smile that sent shivers through Sarah's core. Come out, wherever you are. He called, his voice dripping with a mock sing-song quality. The shadows danced around him, a symphony of dark laughter that echoed through the decaying yard. With his gaze locked on them, the sense of wrongness intensified. Sarah closed the door quickly, panic spreading through her limbs. We need to keep quiet, he can't know we're here. But as she turned to Mia, she noticed the child's face was paling, eyes darting around the shed. Mommy, there's something in here, Mia uttered, her voice a whisper, barely audible. What do you mean? Sarah's heart raced again, adrenaline flooding her system as she turned back to scan the shed. Then it came a low, guttural growl emanating from the darkened corner. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, and her instincts screamed to flee. Mia, we need to go. Now. But as she grabbed Mia's arm, a grotesque creature emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing with malignant hunger. Claw-like hands twitched as it shuffled forward, drawn to the warmth radiating from them. Mommy! Mia cried, horror etched onto her tiny face. Time seemed to slow as dread washed over Sarah, consuming her every thought. They were caught in a web of terror, shadows and monsters closing in around them. Just as she was about to pull Mia away, she caught Thompson's thunderous laughter outside, as it surged toward them, growing louder with each passing second. Run! Sarah shouted, pushing Mia toward the back of the shed while terror loomed at every corner. Could they escape the terrifying presence within and the malignant shadow hunting them outside? As the creature closed in, Sarah felt the darkness swallow the last light in the shed and all hope was released into the void. The creature's growl deepened, reverberating through the wooden walls, shaking Sarah to her core. The instinct to run screamed at her, but Mia's wide eyes held her in place. The fear radiating from her daughter collided with Sarah's own panic. Shadows twisted wildly around them, as if trying to reach out and drag them into the darkness. Stay behind me! Sarah cried, positioning herself between Mia and the creature. The smell of damp earth mixed with the fador of decay enveloped them. The thing shuffled closer, its hunger palpable. Just then, a sudden crash echoed outside. Thompson was trying the shed's door. The sound was a cruel reminder of the two terrors they faced. It was pure chaos. Please don't hurt us. Mia whimpered, pressing herself against the wall desperately. Sarah's heart shattered at the sight. She knew the creature wasn't capable of mercy. The creature's claws raked against the wooden floor, splintering it with eerie ease. Scratches like a nightmare echoed around them, a chilling countdown to their doom. Fear dripped from Sarah's fingertips as she fumbled for anything to defend them. A rusted shovel hung nearby, its edge daring to glint in the dimness. Grab my hand, Mia. She urged, tightening her grip on the shovel's handle. But her daughter merely shook her head, rooted in place. From behind the door, Thompson's laughter rang out again, ecstatic and horrifying. You can't hide forever, ladies. I'll find you. Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The creature lunged. She swung the shovel hard, the blade meeting its side with a sickening thud that it recoiled, hissing, revealing a maw lined with jagged teeth. Mia screamed, the piercing sound filling the dim shed, and Sarah's resolve wavered. The sight of her daughter's terror surged through her like boiling blood. She had to buy them time. Run, Mia. Go. Sarah screamed, shoving the shovel again as the creature lunged toward her once more, but Mia stood paralyzed, staring wide-eyed at her mother, wrestling against instinct. I can't leave you, Mommy. I want tea. Do it. Sarah shouted, panic leaking into her voice. You have to get out. The creature recovered quickly and lunged again. Sarah's reflexes fired, catching the vile target in the throat. It let out a garbled screech that echoed like shards of glass, but it was still coming. Thompson's laughter grew closer, swirling through the shed. Where's my little mouse? His tone toyed with the edges of manic glee. Mia finally made the decision, bolting for the back wall. Sarah's heart desperate, she swung the shovel one last time, aiming for the creature's head. It connected. It howled in anger, staggering back, allowing Sarah the precious seconds she needed. Mia! She yelled, gesturing toward the window to the left, fractured glass catching glimmers of scant sunlight. In there! Mia's eyes flickered between the windows, her lifeline stark against the dark. The creature began to recover. Fear spurred her forward, and she clambered onto a pile of disheveled boards, scrambling towards the fragile opening. Mommy, help! She cried. With one hand still clutching the shovel, Sarah bolted after her, casting frantic glances at the relentless creature and its vile master outside. But there was no time to hesitate. She pushed Mia through the jagged gap, whispering, "Go." As tears stung her eyes. Mia! The scream erupted from Sarah's throat as the creature leapt toward her, ravenous and wild. Just as Sarah felt its claw graze her shirt, she lunged toward the window, fracturing the remnants of her hope. Darkness erupted as she tumbled through, seeking light. As they landed in a heap on the other side, Sarah's mind buzzed in confusion. Where were they now? The world felt different as fear pulsed through her veins. Was Thompson pursuing them, even now? Mommy! Mia's voice pulled her back, trembling and raw. They scrambled to their feet in an unfamiliar landscape. Shadows loomed over them, casting uncertainty on their escape. As Sarah's heart raced, a familiar, cruel laughter resonated through the air. It was back, and this time it was even closer. Did you think you could escape me? Thompson hollered, cutting through the dark. What lay ahead felt far worse than what they had just fled from. The twilight turned sinister, beckoning their next move into the uncharted abyss. And in that suffocating moment, fear clawed deeper. How could they survive this nightmare when they were still trapped within it? Sarah's world was a marionette's play, strings tangled in darkness, but the intrusive beat of resolve pounded louder than despair. She felt Mia's trembling hand clenched tightly, an anchor in turbulent seas. We need to move, she urged, her voice sharp as shards of glass cutting through the cloying air. They darted down a narrow path lined with trees that writhed in twisted shapes, stretching out like dark fingers trying to snag them. Behind them, Thompson's laughter echoed, a death knell reverberating through the creaking shadows. You can't run forever, he taunted, and his words dripped with victory, like poison invading her veins. The air was thicker, heavy with an unnatural weight that seemed to pull them back toward the abyss they'd escaped. Every step was a battle against the shadows, but Sarah wouldn't falter. Faster! She screamed, urging Mia onward as she felt the darkness clawing at them, relentless and insatiable. Each rustle in the foliage signaled that they were not alone, and then, amid the gathering chill, a brief flicker of light danced in the distance like a beacon, flickering between the encroaching gloom. There! Do you see it? She pointed, hope nudging her heart awake. Just a little closer. As they sprinted toward the light, the path twisted under their feet. The trees loomed closer in their periphery, shadows shifting with menace. Their frightened breaths mingled, echoing into the choking black. Within moments, the laughter transformed into furious roars, a violent wind whipping around them. Mommy! Mia cried, her voice cutting through Sarah's determination like a knife. Please! I'm scared. The tremor in Mia's voice twisted Sarah's gut, igniting a firestorm of protective instinct within her. I know, sweetheart. Just keep running. I want to let him take you. She clutched Mia tighter, summoning every ounce of courage to shield her child from the depths of despair surrounding them. They plunged toward the light, a raw, blinding glow boiling from the earth into the encroaching darkness. Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. It was tangible, electric. They barreled through the last thicket, bursting into a clearing bathed in warm sunlight. It felt almost surreal, like the sun was a protective barrier meant only for them, but safety was an illusion. Suddenly, the radiant light flickered, stretched, and Thompson materialized at the edge of the clearing, stepping from the shadows like a specter, his eyes gleaming with madness. "You thought you could escape? How quaint." Sarah's heart thundered. Panic surged, but she couldn't let it take her. This wasn't over. "This ends now," she screamed, stepping forward defiantly, protecting her daughter with every ounce of her being. "You don't own us." The darkness churned and screeched, swirling around Thompson, but he merely chuckled, unfazed. "Oh, Sarah, you misunderstand. You'll always be part of the game. But perhaps you'd like to play a little differently." He extended a hand, and shadows bent to his will, forming spindly tendrils that reached towards Sarah and Mia. "No!" Sarah shouted, flinging her arms wide, summoning a rush of energy. She wouldn't let him take her or her daughter. The light around them pulsed, resonating with her will, pushing back the encroaching shadows. "We are not afraid." In her heart, Sarah could feel a flicker of hope and strength rising from the light, wrapping comfort around her like a protective cloak. It drew power from her fierce love and resolve, illuminating piercing beams that pierced through the dark. The tendrils faltered, receding as the light swelled. Thompson's laughter faltered, overshadowed by an eerie silence that gripped them. "You can't fight it, it's part of you." He spat, the confidence breaking as he stumbled back, shadows swirling like confused phantoms around him. "Whatever you are, you don't get to control us." Sarah defied him, pouring everything into her words, her voice melding with the radiant light. "Leave us alone." As if the universe answered her call, a wave burst through the air, its radiance consuming the darkness in a spectacular dance. The shadows wailed out, tumbling as they fought against the purity of light. As the light engulfed Thompson, entangling him like a pet caught in a snare, he emitted one final, chilling scream before the darkness evaporated around him, leaving nothing but echoes in the wind. Mommy?" Mia's voice was shaky, stepping carefully toward the fading shadows. Sarah knelt, enveloping her daughter in a fierce embrace. "We did it, sweetie. He's gone." Relief washed over them, tears slipping down her cheeks. They were free, truly free. At long last, the shadows lost their hold. The laughter of the monsters faded into whispers, replaced by the chirping of birds returning to greet the dawn. They stood together, the warmth of sunlight wrapping around them, banishing the night's terrors. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, hand in hand. "Let us go home," Sarah whispered, the burden of fear finally lifting. And as they stepped forward into the brilliant morning, the fragile hope shimmered brighter than the fear that had once threatened to consume them. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss exclusives like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories coming. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. Let us do this.